Hello, it's Anne. I'm live. Let me just tidy up. I need to make things right so that I can look at myself and see that I'm in the right position, that I've got enough air coming in the room, all of those wonderful things. And I've got to remember to put this on, which I obviously had forgotten. So, as you come on live, just let me know that you're there and say hello. Just going live now for our next class, class 2, where we are all about inner personalities, self-acceptance, embracing every aspect of you, and doing a clearing process as well. Just let me straighten this up. It just feels crooked, and I keep looking at myself as though I am sitting on a slope. It's annoying me. There we go. Perfect. Hello, Jan. Hello, Andrina. Hello, Wendy. Thank you all for joining me today for our class on clearing our unhelpful personalities. So we're going to talk about our inner personalities, self-acceptance. Hi, Michelle. Hello, Bronwyn. Lovely to see you. Having a great day. It's public holiday, so it's always quieter around here when we have a public holiday, which is lovely. Hello, Jan. Okay, I've got some notes here, and I've got my computer in front of me here. So let's just get started. As I said, I'm just getting myself all organised. So if I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking at my computer. I'll try to, of course, put as much focus on looking at you as well. It's so very good to see you, and I feel like I'm with you all the time because my focus is always on the amazing women in this program. Every minute of every day, whenever I'm thinking about anything, I have stuff going through my head about what we're going to do next, about what's coming up, about what you need. All of those things. Jan, that's absolutely fine. Catch up with the replay. Just so you know, there's also going to be a bit of a bonus clearing session, which is going to be uploaded to the members site, which will be part of today's class, but something that you do separately when you have the time period available to you. So keep an eye out for that as well. And Carmel, I see you're here with us as well, so thank you for joining me. Just let me find the actual live on the Facebook group. And Carmel's actually not going to be joining us live, but that's okay. Hello, Carmel in the replay. Let me just find the live here so that I have it in front of me on the screen so I don't miss any questions or anything at all from you guys. Here we go. Beautiful. Okay, I'll just hit that, click from all so that it's big on my screen and I can see any comments coming through. Wonderful. All right, thanks for your patience as we get this right. I don't worry too much about that sort of thing when it's a particular class because you're all expecting to have conversation with me. Thanks, Jan. We'll see you soon. Okay, so I'm just going to take a breath. And I'm just going to open up a Word document that I've created with some notes on it for us. I'm not normally a note kind of person for these sorts of programs. However, there are some very specific things that I want to be sure that I don't miss saying. Okay. Thanks for your patience. And again, I'll have some water. We're going to get started eventually, believe me. Okay. So once again, thank you very much for joining me for this, our second class in the program that we are all collectively gathered here for. So what I'd like to do to get started is to simply ask you to come into this moment in time. You might want to just close your eyes for a few moments and center yourself in this moment. Just bring your attention to me, or to my voice rather. Bring your attention and focus to this moment in time, right here, right now. There's nothing else you need to be doing. You've made time for this. So give yourself the gift of that time to receive from the conversation, whatever it is that you need to receive. Absolutely allow yourself and invite any activations that are going to come through, because there will be some coming through. Allow yourself to relax into this moment. Don't be distracted by anything else. In fact, if you've got any other screens open, I'd also suggest that you close them. And certainly if you receive any notifications from Facebook while we're here live, I would invite you to just simply ignore those. Even if you are just watching the replay, make a promise to yourself that you will allow yourself to ignore any of those distractions that might take your focus away from your growth, from your personal development, from your shift into higher frequencies. Because one thing that we do know, and you've probably all experienced this, is that as you start to shift, as you start to raise your frequency or vibration and start to move into these new ways of being where you're operating from your superconscious mind, there are any number of inner personalities that you have, saboteurs, so to speak, who will try to distract you, try to bring your attention away from your growth, because to those unhelpful personalities that we're going to talk about in a moment, your growth, your journey to the next level of your consciousness is a fearful thing for those unhelpful personalities. So just be aware of that. Notice when you want to distract yourself, or notice when you're going to look at notifications that are coming in as you're on Facebook or any other website that you might have open. So allow yourself just now to make the decision to gift yourself the time, the space, the distraction-free zone in which to receive your upliftment, your frequency upgrade, your growth into whatever it is that you're choosing to grow into. I want to be very clear here once again that this program is about you and your growth, doing it your way, doing what you need to do. I will guide you, of course, along that, but I will never tell you how you should do it, what it should look like, any of these types of things, because you are the only person who knows what's inside of you. Sure, I can see it, and so can psychics and other people who are spiritually gifted, each and every one of you, but you are the only one who can truly know how you want to show up in the world. We're all unique, different beings, come here for unique, creative reasons, and you're the only one who can create that. You're the only one who can see what that looks like, that path. Yes, as I said, I can give you signposts along the way, and I can certainly tell you do this and do that. If I'm finding that that's what you need to do, have that clear direction, I will do that, absolutely. But again, this is all about your self-empowerment. Self-empowerment. It's about you being you and doing you in the world. Okay, so I will call you out on your saboteurs and your unhelpful inner personalities as I need to. And I'll also praise your helpful inner personalities. So, having said all of that, I don't know where that all came from. I'm just going to keep talking. As you know, whatever comes through is exactly what you need to be hearing or receiving or downloading or being activated in. So just again, asking you to step into that trust. So let's get started. I want to talk to you today about your inner personalities and absolutely about how they become triggered. Okay, so I like to think of it as there being three types of inner personalities. We have helpful personalities, we have unhelpful personalities, and we have neutral personalities. So the first two, helpful and unhelpful, I used to call them positive and negative, and I used to call them good and bad. But what we need to do is to stop labeling things as being at the far spectrum, either at the top of the ladder or at the bottom of the ladder, and we have to allow ourselves to come more into balance. So stop labeling things good or bad, because everything is good and bad when we come into balance. Everything is black and white when we come into balance. It's not this or that, it's actually this and that. And that's a philosophy that I try to live by. Again, whenever I'm talking, these are things that I endeavour to create in my life. It's the way that I try to live my life. It's the guidance that I receive that I try to follow. We're all human beings, and we're not 100% perfect. At the same time, we are 100% perfect. Again, it's not this or that, it's this and that. We are 100% perfect, and we're not 100% perfect. So we essentially, we're on a seesaw with one end of the spectrum here and one end of the spectrum here, and we're going like this much of the time until we come into balance. I like to think of that balance point as that moment in time when you're a child and you're playing at the park on the seesaw, where you stand. I don't know if you did this, but I certainly did, and I still love to do it when I go to the park. I stand in the middle of the seesaw and just move my legs to go up and down, but standing there in that balanced position. And that's where we want to get to, so that we are living our lives without being triggered, either good or bad, without being triggered either to one level or the next, but simply living this balanced life of joy, happiness, doing what we want to do, being ourselves in the world, and sharing with others how we be through our vibration, through our frequency, through the things that we say, through the way that we be in the world. This is how we all contribute to changing the world. And whether that's in a business that you do or something else, it matters not. Right, so back to the inner personalities. So we have that, what I call the helpful personalities, which are, of course, those parts of you that love the growth, those parts of you that are encouraging to you, your inner cheerleader, so to speak, and those parts of you that help you to receive that which you're seeking. Then we have the unhelpful personalities. Now, we all know what they are, don't we? Because we spend so much time and focus on those unhelpful aspects of ourselves. Now, I'll use different words, but I'm saying the same thing. Inner personalities, aspects of self, subconscious, conscious, superconscious. These are all expressions of the same thing that I'm talking about. So, unhelpful personalities, of course, that's the inner saboteur, I should say. The other unhelpful personalities, of course, is what actually expressed itself to me this morning as I was planning what we're going to say today, expressed itself to me as lackluster Lucy. You know, they can have their own personalities, they can have their own names and all sorts of things. If you're a bit imaginative like me, and of course that's not everybody, but I like to go in, I like to name them from time to time. I don't do it for all of them, it just depends on where I'm at the moment. So lackluster Lucy is a personality that's very focused on lack, what's missing in her world. And you've got your inner critic, of course, who you might call your mother-in-law. I don't know. Again, just saying what comes out. It might speak to you. Usually it does speak to someone because it's designed that way. It's designed that way. So, unhelpful personalities. So they're all the inner traits, the inner personalities that you've got that are keeping you small. So your inner child, which is, again, I want to say these are all unhealed aspects of you. The unhelpful personalities are unhealed aspects of you. Or you could call them the shadow. Again, we are using a specific wording, but it relates to words that other people use for different things. It's all one and the same. You see, when we get back to it, for me, everything's about simplicity. Spirituality and personal development should be, in its greatest form, it should be very simple. There's only love or fear, really. There's only the two things, love or fear. Love or fear. Is it love-based or fear-based? All of the unhelpful personalities come under the fear-based, and all of the helpful personalities come under the love-based, essentially. So, again, I'm trying not to, I promised myself that I wouldn't go around in circles, but what I'm starting to understand is that my going around in circles like this is often the activation that is needed. So the neutral personality, let me very quickly explain what a neutral personality is. It is a personality that just is the automatic operator, that neither has a helpful or unhelpful aspect. So it doesn't come from love or fear, it simply is. One of those personalities, as an example, is the part of you that is the driver of your car. So you know that quite often you'll get into the car, you know where you're going, you just get in the car, you start driving and you get there. And you think, how did I get here? That's your inner car driver personality, so to speak. Again, that's a very strange personality to have, and it's not one that you ever think about because it is totally neutral. It's in that balanced spot on the seesaw. It's not bad or good. It's not fear or love. It is that balanced spot. It just simply is something that happens, and it's usually because you've trained it that way. That's why we go to driving school, so that we can learn how to do all of that automatically. Now, of course, that then takes us out of mindfulness, but that is another story. So what we're going to work on, what I wanted to share with you is that, sorry, bear with me 2 secs. Again, I've just got some little notes and things that I wanted to be able to speak to around these sorts of things. I've just got to find the one that I had. Oh, don't you hate it when you can't find what you've got to open on your computer? So you've got so much there. Oh, here it is. Beautiful. La 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 la. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Thank you. Okay, so essentially we are going to be focusing in this session mostly on the unhelpful personalities and the reactive ways of being that affect your daily life, or the triggers that affect your daily life. Of course, as you probably know, you have created these unhelpful personalities. You created your helpful ones as well. But again, I want to bring the focus to the unhelpful personalities. So you created them in reaction to something that was happening in your life at the time. They are always created by something that's happening in your life at the time. So let's say you were about 16 years old and a half, 16 and 9 months or something. And again, I'm using the car driver personality because it's neutral. So about 16 years and 9 months, you were able to get your learners so that you could get your car license. So that was your reaction to reaching that age and having a desire for more freedom and to be able to go out without your parents. So you started to create your car driver neutral personality through that life circumstance that was happening at the time, right? They're created, the unhelpful ones are created in order to protect you. They're there to protect you, to keep you safe. So they're created from your ego and your subconscious mind, and even sometimes your conscious mind, as in the car driver. So, sometimes we're in a fearful situation, or we're in a situation that is causing harm to us in some way, whether that's to our psyche, our mental development, our human self. You develop the situation. Well, let's give it an example here. So if you're someone who is currently not being seen, let's say, I know there's a few of you here who have a desire to be seen by their clients. So at some point when you were younger, something happened to you. Something happened to you in your life that caused you to make a decision and to create a personality that was going to keep you quiet and small. Now, there's no judgment on this. It simply is what it is. So you created a personality to keep you small and quiet, and it's been doing its job perfectly. Whenever you felt yourself in a same sort of situation where you felt that same sort of fear, it doesn't have to be the exact same situation, just something that brings the same sense of fear. That inner personality comes out to protect you in that situation, so it stops you from taking those steps. Now, years and years later, and this was certainly true for me, as we start to create our businesses and want to be a personality out there in the world, want to be known for our work, we get over and over and over and over frustrated with ourselves because we're not showing up fully. We maybe don't even know that we're not showing up fully, but someone can tell us that, as I've done with quite a few of my clients. We might not even know that we're not showing up fully. We might be thinking that we are showing up fully, that we are truly being ourselves out there in the world and sharing our giftedness, but most of us aren't. And it's something that inner personality is protecting you. And you just need to start to become aware of that. Essentially, if there's anything in your life that you're trying to create right now, and you're having that sense of frustration that no matter how hard you try, or no matter how much you think you are doing that thing, the results are not showing that you're doing that thing. So that would mean that there's a personality within you, an inner aspect or an inner personality that is protecting you. It's protecting you. Now, I quite often, and this is a good little imagination thing for people, I quite often think of it as though they are little personalities, tiny little beings that are inside me. And so let's say, for instance, that I go... Okay, so a very good example for me is that I used to have a fear of aggressive men. I used to have a fear of aggressive men. It's come up again recently, isn't that interesting? But let me use it as an example. Many years ago, I had a fear of aggressive men. So, of course, I spent my life attracting aggressive men. My father, my brothers, not my first husband, but certainly the man I was with up until about 5 years ago, after my marriage ended. And that's when it all came up and I was able to see it and heal it. But I've always had this fear of aggressive men. Now, I didn't know that until someone pointed it out to me, that's why I was creating these relationships that I was creating and having relationships with these particular type of men. Because whenever I was going into that sort of situation, that inner part of me, this little inner part of me, it was like it actually came up and put earplugs in my ears so I couldn't hear, glasses on so I couldn't see what I was doing, because it was protecting me from my own self. So I don't know if that's a very good example. It didn't quite go where I wanted it to go, but again, I trust that what's coming through is what needs to come through. Okay, so that's then. So you basically created your inner personalities to stop you from walking into danger. And then, of course, as you start stepping into life, you want something different, but you cannot see what's stopping you. So this is why we're having the conversation. You might find that you're starting to think of things that are aligned with this conversation. That's the first step, of course, is to become aware of it, so that's okay. Fears. Any fears? Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. So again, as I said, there's only two things, fear or love. And since we're focused on the unhelpful personalities, and we're going to talk about fear, because that's what they're all based on. Some of the fears are fear of change, fear of being stuck, fear of failure, fear of success. Seemingly opposing fears are often involved. So fear of success and fear of failure. Fear of not being good enough, and also fear of being too good. Fear of being rejected, and fear of having to reject. Fear of being different and fear of being the same. Isn't it interesting that we come back to that seesaw analogy? Fear of being different and fear of being the same. They're two ends of a spectrum, and we've got to find the balance to be able to allow them to be what they are, but not to affect our daily life, not to trigger us. Fear of being judged, fear of not being liked, we're all familiar with that one, aren't we? Fear of being noticed, fear of being invisible. Again, seemingly opposing fears. Now, some of those might have triggered something within you. So your unhelpful personality, doing what it has been trained to do, jumps up and blocks you whichever way you turn, whatever you're trying to do. It's felt the feeling before and it hurt, or it made you feel bad. So your inner personality is saying, hang on a minute, I'll protect you, I'll save you. It thinks of itself as a saviour, but in actual fact it's a saboteur. I always say that word wrong. So it thinks, your inner personality, your unhelpful inner personality, thinks of itself as being your saviour because it is saving you from the pain that you felt before in similar feeling situations. But in actual fact, it's your inner saboteur, stopping you from growing and becoming all that you are. Okay, so look, I'm telling you that in order to say to you, these unhelpful personalities, they're not bad. They're not bad things, and you haven't done a bad thing by creating them. You've simply lived life, and you have been a little less conscious of creating these sorts of things. But we don't know until we know. We don't know what we don't know. And so this conversation is, and again, I want to say to you, I know that you are familiar with this kind of thing. Maybe I'm describing it differently. And I know that you are aware of your inner unhelpful personalities and your helpful personalities and how you are living your life and all of these things. And it might have been spoken about differently. These are, again, your inner personalities are also the archetypes, the traditional kind of psychological archetypes. I just, again, want to keep things as simple as possible. That's why I call them inner personalities. And that way I can also speak to them or have internal or journaling conversations with them as though they are these little beings or these other aspects of me. Okay. So, depending on who you are, you might have a habit of getting angry every time your husband speaks to you in a way that feels like disrespect, or maybe a habit of screaming at your children whenever you're in a rush and thinking you might be late for work or a meeting and then not doing what you're telling them to do. Again, just some little examples. You might even be someone who, given an opportunity to meet with and present to a new client on your services, you start feeling sick and you take yourself off to bed while complaining to yourself that life is not fair and this always happens to you. Perhaps you reach for an alcoholic drink or a drug of choice when these feelings arise. I know that's not any of you guys, but it is something that at a lower level happens a lot. It doesn't matter what your reactive behaviour is. What matters now is that you start to recognise the pattern and your triggers, and that you realise that you can actually change them. Once you become aware of your triggers, and once you start, and I'll teach you a process in order to start recognising it as they come up and dealing with them. Again, triggers, shadows. Same, different wording. Again, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what they're called. I, as I said, like to call them things that are not triggering. Shadows can be triggering. The word shadows can be triggering. Or the idea that someone might have shadows, or someone pointing out your shadows using those words. That can actually be very triggering as well, because shadows has a negative connotation. Shadows is like the dark or the bad. So that's why I don't use that. I use triggers, I use reactive behaviours. Reactive behaviours are, of course, behaviours that happen without you consciously being aware that you're doing it, as opposed to responses, which are you're coming at it from a conscious level. And we're going to actually, throughout this process, this class today, and a little bonus that's coming along with it, we're going to move you into coming from your superconscious mind, which is an even higher level. It's so quick. We're going to be in a place where we bypass the subconscious, we bypass the subconscious, we bypass the conscious, and we come from the superconscious mind. When you do that, the minute that you become aware of a trigger, and you look at it, it heals immediately after the process that we're going to do in the bonus little module. Okay, so that's where we're going with all of this. Again, always working on an energetic level. I want to just give you a very quick journaling prompt that might help you straight after the call if you choose to go there. It's not necessary because we're going to do a bigger process in the little bonus that I'm going to have uploaded for you later today. You can use a writing prompt to find your triggers, because we've been talking about, when, let's say that when you're trying to get your kids into the car, I always use examples from my own life. As you know, I think that's the way to teach people, because we're all so similar. We all have the same things happening. We're all one. So I remember a time when Jack, that's my younger son, my 14-year-old, when he was about 3, I think it was, and I was working in a mining company in the city. So every morning I had to shuffle him into the car with all his food packed and all his bag packed and drive him up to his childcare centre before then driving into the city, which would take me half an hour. And so this was after I'd already started doing some of my soul development. So it kind of felt like I didn't really want to be there. You know that feeling, you know how it is. But anyway, I used to put him into the car. Half the time I'd have to drag him into the car. I'd have to carry him. I'd have to struggle with him as I put him in the seat because he was crying. He didn't want to go. He was tired. I'd woken him up when it wasn't his natural waking up time. All of those things. But my initial reaction to that was to be upset, to be angry, to perhaps speak in a tone to him that wasn't helpful, and even perhaps raise my voice. Yes, I've been known to do it. But after working on that, what I started to do instead was to let him do that and get him into the car, and then I would just simply look at him and say, I love you too much to fight with you, and then I would pull a face at him. So he's a 3-year-old boy. I'd pull a face at him, make a face at him, which would have him start to laugh instead of cry, because, kids are pretty easy like that. So that was how I started to respond instead of reacting in my normal way, once I recognised that trigger and started to deal with it. So using that example, a way that you can journal about this to find those triggers for you in all sorts of situations. Again, this is just a little extra if you want to do it. So you can write, when this thing happens, so when I have to get Jack into the car and he's crying, I feel like this. So then, I feel shitty and annoyed and angry and guilty and blah, blah, blah. And then I react in this way. So when this thing happens, I feel like this, and then I react in this way. Again, it's just a little prompt for you if you want to do some journaling afterwards and start to look at where it is that you do get those triggers, okay? Only do it if you feel called to do so. Please understand that I'll explain a little bit more later about the higher self, the superconscious mind healing, clearing process that we're going to share into the membership site today. Okay. So how do you change those reactive behaviours? You change them, and by the way, you've turned them into a habit. And we all know that brain retraining will help habits. So learn what you can about brain retraining and do processes. I have one called the ABC Brain Retrain. Really, really simple. If you want a copy of that, just let me know and I'll pop it into the membership site as well. It's a tiny little process. A, do this. B, do this. C, do this. Takes a matter of minutes, and what it does is it stops that inner personality from coming up here and start and saying things to you, telling you whatever it tells you at the moment. It stops that from happening. So you have to discreate the unhelpful personality and then create some new helpful personalities. So that's what the ABC brain retrain process does. Okay, so now let me just quickly scroll down. Okay, that's all done. All the notes from that particular page that I wanted to give you are done, and now I just want to open up again the other page that I was using to remind me what I wanted to say to you. All right, so I'm going to upload a bonus little module, or it's an adjunct to this class, and it's a bonus called Your Superconscious Mind and Superconscious Self-Therapy. Superconscious self-therapy is a process that I've created over the years. I've used it differently, I've used it this way, I've used it that way, and today it's perfect for exactly what you need. Superconscious self-therapy. It's where you go into your superconscious mind or your superconscious self. Now, as you know, we have, well, most of us know that we have two levels of consciousness, subconscious and conscious. We also have a third level, which is the superconscious. Subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. Now, your inner personalities are created through your subconscious. Lots of healing is focused on the subconscious mind, digging into that. But what's actually happening most of the time is that you're conscious of it. So therefore it's actually at the conscious level. You become conscious of it by someone telling you, or by you doing this work and discovering what those triggers are, and so therefore what those inner personalities are. So most healing work happens at the conscious level in some way. Sometimes at the higher levels, at the beginning levels of the subconscious, but mostly in the conscious mind. The thing that I love most about superconscious level, by the way, you're being activated if you're not already in your superconscious mind, if you're not already aware of it and it's awakening within you, which it will be doing through this program. Just know that it's there. Just know that it's this level of yourself that you might call your higher self, or it's this level of yourself that is the gateway to all of your non-physical aspects. And since we are mostly tuned into our non-physical aspects, we've got to assume that our superconscious mind is active, okay? Speaking specifically to you guys. For some of you, we've been doing some third eye openings in your personal sessions when necessary. Others have that open already, and yet others aren't ready for it yet, but we'll be doing that over the course of the personal sessions that we're doing. The third eye and the pineal are the beginning of the activation of the superconscious mind. So I'm saying that in order to say this to you. The process, the superconscious self-therapy, is based on your superconscious mind being awakened and active. So the work that you will be receiving later today will open that up for you and allow you to start accessing that to do your own healing. This is the thing. You are your own healer. You're the greatest person to do your own healing work. In fact, you're the only person to do your own healing work, but you must do it from your super conscious level. You must do it from your higher self level. Now, let me go back to the three: subconscious, conscious, superconscious. If your triggers and your unhelpful personalities and your blocks and all of those sorts of things, whatever we call them, are in your superconscious mind, they can't be healed by your conscious mind. They cannot be healed by your conscious mind necessarily. Because everything that comes from your... It's not coming out right for some reason today, so obviously that's not relevant to this conversation. But what I want to say is the superconscious self-therapy, what it does is it bypasses the subconscious mind. Because everything, and the conscious mind, because everything that comes from your higher self has to go through your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And so it becomes dirty by the time it gets there. It becomes clogged up with your belief systems, with your unhelpful personalities, with your triggers, and all of these sorts of things. So we're going to go straight to source to do our healing from this moment forward. So what I'm going to do is provide for you later today the process, the guided process, but also there's a workbook that goes with it. It's a process of doing the workbook, So sitting down, answering the questions, they're prompts. It's a bit like journaling, but it's not journaling. It's specific questions that I want you to answer. Once you've done that, there's a process of then leaving it for at least an hour to go and do something else, like some gardening or a walk in nature is what I'm trying to say, a walk in nature, or, you know, just washing the dishes, whatever you need to do, just so that you're out of your thinking mind for a moment, to allow that all to come in. And then after you've done that processing time, there is a guided meditation process that will take you into your superconscious mind and your higher self in order to clear all of those triggers. So this is the beginning of your process. It's going to take you time, so that's why it's separate, and it will be available to you whenever you have that amount of time in order to do it. Now, another good way to do this that's just occurred to me, is just coming through, is to do the workbook and then go and have your sleep tonight. And then when you wake up in the morning, come back and do the guided process, so that your higher self, your superconscious mind, is processing it overnight so that it's ready to be released. Okay? So that's it. So all in all, that may take you anywhere from, I mean, give the workbook half an hour to an hour. Give yourself at least an hour, if not overnight, while you're sleeping. Immediately after you've done the workbook, go to sleep. Don't do anything in between. And then probably the recording will probably be about 20 minutes. 27 minutes apparently. It just dropped in 27 minutes. Don't know why. So that's the time period that you'll need for this. This one's it's a bigger one this week, but it's about clearing you out of all those things that trigger you, all those unhelpful personalities. By the way, we're not clearing them out. We're not getting rid of them. We're not going into our shadow and saying, piss off, get out, any of those sorts of things. What we're actually doing in these processes is recognizing them, essentially by recognizing them, saying thank you for what you've been doing for me, and then allowing them to be released, because, you know, they're not having much fun either. So they want to be released. So that's what we're going to do. Allow them to be released. So that's what we're going to do. And now what I want to do, I'm just going to have a sip of water, and I'm going to ask if you have any questions. I've got one more thing that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to call it Forever Moving Forward Homework, something that I want you to bring into your life as a daily practice. It will change everything for you. It will allow you to not be triggered ever by anything once we move through this initial period of being triggered and releasing those triggers. But this is a practice that is extraordinary, and it will have you be living in your Christ consciousness or your superconscious levels every single day, and that will literally change your life, because you will become someone of very high frequency, very high vibration, that will attract people to you, that will have people wanting to be around you, to be served by you, to pay you money if that's an important thing for you. You'll just become essentially all that you can be, or you'll be in the process of becoming that as you do this one thing. So take some water. Any questions about anything that I've said, please ask them, and then I want to talk to you about this downloading the Christ consciousness level within you, and a very real practical process or thing to be doing every single day as you go about your life. This is not something you have to stop. So yeah, I'm going to drink. Andrina, just let me say this. Drifting in and out of consciousness during these sorts of conversations is absolutely perfect, because it simply means that there are parts of your consciousness that are not yet ready to consciously hear what we're saying, but everything that we're saying is being embedded energetically. So when you're ready to hear it, you will absolutely hear it, or you will embody it so much that it just becomes a knowing within you. Or if you feel at some point to re-watch the class, that will be the moment that your conscious mind is saying, I'm ready to hear this now. Okay? Again, I want to just repeat that for every single class that we do. Repeat watching of it, if you feel to do so, is brilliant. Every single time you listen or watch, you will receive the next level of whatever it is that's happening. Okay? Bronwyn, yeah, I usually call it home play as well. But I guess I fall back onto homework because I have a child who does homework. But it's still play. That's the thing. It's all for your own good as well. So thanks for that. Any other questions? I still haven't had some water, so let me do that. Again, because I used to host radio, I'm very low. I find it very, very hard to stop talking when I'm either talking direct to people on live or anything like that. So I'm going to force myself right now to drink some water. Needed that. Alright, so if we don't have any questions, and please, if you are watching the replay, or if you have any questions later, if you want to share anything, our private group, nobody can see what's posted in there except the members of the group. You might not recognise a name within that group. It's Claire Alexson, that's my mother. I always add her to groups and things so that if there's ever any problem with my Facebook account and I can't get in, I can get in through her account and let everybody know what's happening. So just so you know who that is, that's just my mother. She never looks at it. She asked me to set up a Facebook page for her and then she's never used it. So I just use it as my re-entry if I need it. All right, that's great, Andrina. Yes, listen again when you feel to do so. So, as I just mentioned, we've got the adjunct or the bonus to this class, which will be going into the member site later today for you all to do. Now that has to be done first before you can then move into what I'm about to speak about. As I'm speaking to you about it, I can feel the presence. I can feel the presence of the energy that's coming through for this. I can only call it Christ consciousness, that's all I know it as, God. So I can feel that energy coming through, so I'm going to go with that in just a moment. But first of all, I want to say to you this. So that's going to be activated within you. So it'll be there activated. But I don't want you to do what I'm about to ask you to start doing until you've done the work with the bonus module, with the superconscious self-therapy. Superconscious self-therapy. Okay, so do that first before you start doing this out in the real world. Because if you start doing this, what I'm about to ask you to do, out in the real world without having done the work on your triggering and your unhelpful personalities, you'll just be causing yourself a whole lot of grief because it will be very triggering for you. Okay? Now, having said that, again, if it feels like you want to start doing it, that's entirely up to you. Because as I have continued to say, this is not about me telling you what to do. It is about me giving you some tools and processes and things, and you making your own intuitive conscious decision, or maybe your superconscious decision, to do this or that, or this and that, to do that which will serve you through your own knowing. Okay. I feel like I want to go into a process with you. So if you're feeling it with me, you can do it with me right now, or you can come back and watch the replay later if you want to. As I could feel that energy, that beautiful divine energy coming in, it's asking me to do an actual activation with you to allow yourself to receive Christ consciousness. Just releasing some things within some of you that needed to be released before we can do this. So close your eyes for me. Just close your eyes and relax. There's nothing else that you need to do. We are here to serve you as per your asking. Because it's always us responding to your asking. It's not us deciding that you need something. It's the response to your asking. Because when you ask, we come rushing to gift you. That is the way of the universe. And so we just want you to relax and to breathe and to allow yourself to receive as it comes in. It's starting to come in now. You might just feel very subtly that there's some energetic around you, all focused, streaming into your heart space, which is, by the way, the most intelligent part of you, your heart. An open heart allows your superconscious mind to operate. Superconscious intelligence, in other words. Just breathe and relax and allow yourself to receive and feel whatever's coming in. For some of you, right now, it might feel as though there is energetics coming in both sides of your head and the back of your neck all the way through, as if it's dropping something into your heart space. But however it feels to you is exactly what it needs to feel. You might feel yourself starting to release some energy, because in the presence of Christ consciousness, anything that you might consider to be shadows, unhelpful personalities, triggers, are preparing to be released. They cannot stand in the face of Christ consciousness or in the face of your lightness. Just allow yourself to receive. Allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. Your superconscious mind is guiding this in. Your higher self, in other words, is guiding this in. And again, we say to you, we use the expression guiding it in, but we want you to understand the paradox again. There's nothing outside coming in. It's simply that which is inside you becoming conscious of that which is inside you. Allowing that to awaken. Allowing that to move into every cell of your being, lighting them up, lighting them up, lighting them up, feeling them tingling, feeling every cell in your body tingling, jumping for joy, so to speak. We like to use that expression. Allowing that Christ consciousness to light up your soul, to reach into every corner of your beingness and light it up. Allowing yourself to receive. Just continue to breathe and relax as you receive that which you've asked for at some level. Breathe and relax. Breathe and relax. Now we feel that it's landed, so we simply want to ask you to, when you are ready, there's no rush here, we will wait until all of you are back. When you're ready, just allow yourself to come back into this 3D reality on planet Earth and open your eyes when you're ready to do so. Please drink some water if you have some. So that was the activation. I can still feel some clearing happening, so just take your time. No rush. Not unless you have somewhere to be at 1 o'clock. It is 12:58 at the moment. But if you're happy to sit and just continue to breathe and allow yourself to receive and allow yourself to release as well, because I can feel that happening. I can feel that happening within me, which is always an indication that that's happening within you. We are all one. just indicate with a 1 when you come back so that I know that you're here. Because while I can feel your presence, I also like to have conscious knowing that you are there with me. So pop a little 1 in the comments just to let me know that you are, or anything else, let me know when you are back. And I will wait, because the home play that I'm speaking about, thank you Andrina, any comments as well if anyone has anything to share about the process, anything that just happened for you or what you felt or anything like that. Thank you Wendy. And then I'm going to share this very practical, real thing that I'm going to suggest or tell you about as something that you might want to start doing in your world every single day, in your travels, in your moving around, in everything that you do. Because now that you're embedded with this Christ consciousness level, this question that you have, or this statement that I'm going to share with you, will allow you to live into that consciousness. Wendy saw light and felt relaxed. Fantastic. It's always good to feel relaxed, because the easiest, as we clench our muscles, we essentially hold on to energy. So it's best when doing clearings and activations that we're very relaxed. Wonderful. Okay, so that's the 4 of you all back. Oh, we've lost someone. Someone might have had to go, but that's okay. So here we will just finish up with this. It's not a question. It's a contemplation. Oh, yes, it's a contemplation. So, now this is something that I learnt from Neil Donald Walsh. And as you know, he has conversations with God, just as I do. And it's a beautiful process. And I do this as often as I can, as I remember to. So I'm going to suggest that you do it as well, because it really brings you straight into conscious awareness of who you are. And this is speaking to the fact, look, I say it as a fact, even though there's no proof, the fact that we are all one. It speaks to that. And so what I want you to do is contemplate on this. Okay, that's not the best way for me to share it is to say this to you. You know, sometimes we can be triggered by someone or something. Oftentimes, and I like to use a homeless person as the best example. Although I don't know if it's the best example for you guys, because I feel that the compassion for that homeless person. So I might try to think of someone else. Okay, right. So I'm going to talk about an older female member of your family, perhaps. Now, sometimes we can, our mother-in-law or our own mother, or an older relative, or an older sister, maybe even a younger one, it doesn't matter. Sometimes we'll be triggered by them and we will look at them and say, what a bitch. What a bitch, saying those things to me, or doing that to me, or being like that to me. So who can relate to that? Just let me know that this is something that you can relate to. Again, just put a 1 in the comments or something like that, just so I'm on the right track here, or giving you the best example. So it could just simply be a friend who says something to you and you end up in an argument, calling her a bitch or calling her nasty or any of these sorts of things, where you've been triggered, okay? So just let me know if you can relate to that. We must be a little bit delayed, I think, because I'm not getting the responses till much later. I'll have a drink. Thanks, Wendy. So when these kind of situations happen, when you are triggered by something, what I want you to do is to say to yourself, there I go again being a bitch. There I go again being a bitch. Or there I go again being nasty. Or for the homeless situation, there I go again being homeless. If you see someone on the street and you're annoyed that they're asking you for money, or that they're taking up space, where they shouldn't be. Again, I'm pretty sure this is not you guys. There's more compassion here than that, but this is a great example. So if you see a homeless person and you start to get annoyed, what's he doing there, taking up that space? He smells, it's yucky. Say to yourself in that moment, there I go again, being homeless. This takes you straight into the recognition, or straight into the superconscious knowing that we are all one, and that whatever trait you are seeing in someone else is within you. Whether you play in that energy or not is irrelevant, but recognizing that whatever trait you recognize in someone else is also within you. Now again, this can be called mirror work. I know lots of people talk about it as being you're a mirror to me, or I'm a mirror to you, or whatever it is. Again, let's just keep it simple. That's the way I like it. I've a very simplistic mind. There I go again being a bitch. There I go again being nasty. There I go again being homeless. Recognizing that whatever trait you're seeing is within you. Now, the importance of this is that it puts you into a state of contemplation. Where am I being bitchy? Where am I being nasty? Where am I being homeless or smelly or whatever it is that I've judged that person as being? Where within me do I have that same trait? Now, the magic of this is that you simply recognize that within yourself. Recognize it, and in the recognition of it, or in the putting light into the shadow, it loses its power. Which brings us to wrap up. So this is 2 levels here of moving through your healing. So doing the recognition of your unhelpful personalities and seeing them and removing the triggers to them. And then this next level, which is actually actively seeking in others what is within you, actively acknowledging in others what is within you, but not asking them to take ownership of it, but simply taking ownership of it within yourself, taking ownership with it, giving it your attention for just a few moments, because that's all it needs. We don't need to dig into our shadow 24/7. We don't need to read books about shadow work and try and find those things within us. We're human beings who live on this planet with all manner of other beings who have all manner of characteristics. Living is our healing journey. Living is what it's all about. So throughout your day, whenever you're triggered, whenever you see something in someone, you need to recognize that it's also within you, and just simply look at it, see it, and allow it to be released. It's as simple as that. It really is. So I'm suggesting that every single time something happens for you, you have a reaction to someone or something, that you say, there I go again, being nosy. Or there I go again, being a bitch. Or there I go again, telling people what to do. Whatever it is. And just own that within yourself, in the ownership of it, in the seeing of it, in the shining the light on that shadow, it will be released. Because you've asked, and the universe delivers. You've asked to be released of these things. You always get what you ask for. I have no doubt about that. And that's really all I have to say. I mean, I could really go on and on and on and on, and I do have a propensity to do that. There I go again, talking too much. So I want to say thank you for being here with me today. Any questions? If you have any, I'm just going to hold off for 5 minutes to allow any questions to come through. After we say goodbye, if you have any questions, just keep adding them, and I will... Actually, I haven't got the screen in front of me, so let me bring that up just to make sure I haven't missed anything. Beautiful. Okay, no, I haven't missed anything. Fantastic. So, that's our class for today. The extra bit that I've spoken about will go into the members site before the end of the day, so before 5 o'clock, okay? Do that work. Start doing this living process. Let's call it a living process, whereby every time you recognize something, in someone else, that you then own that within yourself, or recognize that you have it within yourself, and start allowing yourself to see those things, those unhelpful personalities or negative traits, or however you want to describe them, and allow the light of your looking at them, the light of you recognizing them, to clear the darkness. Okay. Can't wait to get feedback if you have any. Everyone, I'm pretty sure we've got you all booked in for this week's coaching calls. I've put everyone into the same time that they had last week, except for one person who we haven't done our first session with yet, but we're doing that very shortly. So if you need to change the time, in the Facebook group is the place to ask any questions, to share anything that's happening for you. I mentioned to one or two of you on our private calls that it's a beautiful gift that you give when you share into the group anything that's happening for you, whether it's a hard thing, whether it's a fabulous thing, whatever it is that's happening for you. If you would share that into the group as well, it's a gift that you give to everyone else, because the other people in this group may well be feeling the same things, or may well be having the same experiences, or even may well have had that experience and found a way to deal with it. So talk about it in the group. Please use the group as much as you can. I'm available 24/7 in there. Well, I won't say 24/7, but as you are posting into that, I'm seeing those posts and I'm responding to them. And so, Michelle, no, I don't think anyone else dropped out. I did notice that we lost someone. Again, these sorts of things happen when there's big energy around. So I would just suggest that you go and watch the replay of the whole process again when you feel ready to do so. Okay. Thank you, Wendy. Yes, I really appreciate that you willingly shared something so private in the group, and I'm sure it will help everyone else. All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me for this second class, and of course for your private sessions that we've done as well. They've been wonderful. And I very much look forward to doing your next sessions and answer any questions that you have in the group. I will see you inside the group. So thank you. Big hugs, lots of love to all of you, and I'll talk to you again soon.